Okay. So this is my supernatural experiences. I can't remember if I've done one before, and I'll try to keep it fairly short. I've only had, like, well, I've had two weird experiences, and then I've had one that I've talked about in a book review briefly. Um, well, actually, like a couple ones. Yeah, I didn't want to get into it, but um, so where do I start? When I went on a Girl Scout trip to Savannah, Georgia in elementary school, I was probably about eight or nine. We went on a ghost tour. And of course, there were ghost stories and everything else, but none of the buildings were like dressed with ghosts or anything. Like, you know how sometimes they'll do like the fake ghosts? None of them were like that. So they were talking about the building behind us briefly. It was haunted. Somebody kept seeing some kind of man or something there, and somebody got murdered there or something. Well, then she moved on, the tour guide moved on to the next one and was talking about that. So I looked back at the other building that she was previously talking about. And before, when I had looked at it, there was nothing in the window. But then when I looked back at it, there was a woman, or what I believe to be a woman, in the window. She had, from what I could see, it looked like she had on like a skirt. But then from like the top, like from her waist up, it looked like a kind of like a rib cage. And then, but it also looked like in a way she had one of those like Victorian, like off the shoulder dresses kind of. But like instead of it coming up to the neck, it came like to like the cleavage area or the neckline, and from like there down it was like rib cage, but then it looked like she had like Victorian sleeves. um and then her face was skeletal, and then her hair just looked like it was in one of those Victorian hairstyles. So I asked the tour guide, I was like, oh, is that a decoration? She's like, what are you talking about? Nothing's there. And I'm like, in the window. She's like, yeah, it's just a window, there's nothing there. I'm like, but there is something there. There's a like skeleton Victorian lady. I thought it was a decoration. No, I was the only one that saw it, and I am pretty sure it wasn't my imagination. Um, and then driving back, because we had to come back the way we came, it was gone. So, yeah, I don't know. Very weird. Then when I sleep, I like sometimes will have like sleep paralysis, and then I'll have like a anxiety attack in my sleep, so I can't breathe, I can't move, and I'm like frozen. 90% of the time when this happens, this like dark looming shadow thing approaches me. And I've posted about it on my Instagram. That's the best picture I could find to describe what it looks like. But yeah, so it never like touches me or anything. It just kind of like hovers over me or like near me, like next to me. And I feel like it's draining like my energy when it happens. Um and the best way I can describe it is like the Dementors from Harry Potter, except for it doesn't have a face. It's just like this shadowy looming thing. So that's happened a lot of times. Um, and then I told you guys before that I had like a death dream. Um, that my grandmother would pass away when me and my mom came back from bingo. Like, we came back, and in the dream, it's like we got home, and my dad was saying that my grandmother was dead, and then me and my mom went to bingo that night, and I remember that day because I had my uh, AP test scores that I stayed up all night to try to figure out what they were, and I was like so pissed off because I expected to have a higher score than I did. I still scored fairly well. It's better than nothing, but I was kind of upset because they were lower than I wanted them to be to get college credit. So I kind of like fell asleep upset, and then I had that dream, and then to cheer me up, and it's our normal routine. My mom and I would go to bingo on Friday nights. We stopped going because of the move. But we came home and I went to bed, and then like 3 or 4 hours later, my dad woke me up and he said my grandmother had passed away. So really, really freaky. I'd even told my mom about the dream, and even my grandfather, after the funeral, I told him, and he said, well, it was like a warning from her, I guess subconsciously. I don't really know uh, how that exactly works because, yeah, it was just weird. And then this was way before that, I had a dream that a like ambulance type, like one of the smaller buses hit a motorcyclist or ran over a motorcyclist, and like 2 days later an ambulance from one of the fire stations hit a motorcyclist and that person died. um and then I had a dream about like a plane crash in like the ocean, like way way long ago, and there was a plane crash in like a lake type thing. But everybody survived out of that, I believe. um so yeah, just very bizarre supernatural type uh things. So I haven't had them for almost 2 years now, but like psychic death vision dreams. So pretty bizarre. And then the one ghost thing I saw um, when I was in Savannah, Georgia. So that's my whole experience with that. Bye, guys.